So 11 o'clock has come and gone, and the transfer window is now officially closed, which means the rumours can stop, and we now can look at exactly now what did Tottenham Hotspur do in the transfer window. And I'm just going to make a quick video about the business coming in and the business going out, and how well did we do with that business, both from an economic standpoint and also from a standpoint of, did we bring in the right talent in the right areas? I was going to say at the right price, but just at the right, I'm not too concerned about the price at this point. Did we bring in the right talent in the right areas and to play the football that we want to play? So let's just go through the incomings of what came in at Tottenham at the moment. So basically, Spurs have spent a combined total of £225 million on 9 signings this transfer window. So obviously we've got James Maddison, £40 million from Leicester City, attacking creative midfielder. We've got Mickey van der Ven, 43 million, a left-sided centre-back from Wolfsburg. We got Manuel Solomon, who is he's a right forward as far as I'm concerned. He plays on the right, so he's a right forward. We've got him for a free transfer from Shakhtar Donetsk. Then we have Vicario, who we got for £17.2 million as a goalkeeper from Empoli. Clearly, we needed to replace Hugo Lloris, and so getting a goalkeeper was important. We got Alejo Veliz, and I believe this is around £13 million, who's a centre forward, and we purchased him from, I believe it's the Argentine league. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's where we got him from. Dejan Kulusevski, who obviously was on an 18-month loan, and his transfer was made permanent by a total of £25.6 million. And then we have Pedro Porro, who obviously we loaned him in January, and the transfer was made permanent this window for a total of £39 million. We obviously we signed the young centre-back from Blackburn Rovers, Ashley Phillips, for an undisclosed fee. And the last one is today's signing, Brennan Johnson, for 47.5 from Nottingham Forest, and he is a forward who can play along the front line, left, right, or down the middle. So let me just talk about the incomings now. At the end of last season, there was a couple of issues we had. We had no creativity. So one of the key things we needed was a creative midfielder, and by the signing of James Maddison certainly achieves that. So and so buying James Maddison was a good signing, and the fact that we got him early in the window was a good move. And so when we signed him, things looked good. We looked like we were making positive moves. We went in there very quickly, got the guy we needed, and he actually has settled down. And obviously he had proven Prem experience. And so the James Maddison signing for me was a no-brainer. And so I'm just going to give that the complete thumbs up. I have no arguments with that. I've always liked James Maddison, and I was glad that we signed him, and I feel like we got him for a very, very, very good price in the position we needed. Now, what I would say about this is that I actually felt like we needed 2 James Maddisons. I would have liked to see us probably actually gone for James Ward-Prowse for the price that he went for. Because I just think that it's going to be a long season. Of course, we don't have, now that we're at the Carabao Cup, right? We've just got the season. But I feel like because we were so poor in the creative department last season, if James Maddison is out for any period of time, I'm a bit concerned that our creativity may go down. I'm not sure that Lo Celso is going to be good enough there. However, we may have other ways of playing that might actually somewhat circumvent that. But nonetheless, I would have liked to have seen another one, and I think that they should have gone for another one. So this is going to affect my rating in a minute. So anyway, so I'm giving my thumbs up to James Maddison. Mickey van der Ven, great signing so far. I didn't know much about him prior to coming to the Premiership, but I like what he looks like. He's got great attributes. We needed a left centre-back. We've been after a left centre-back from when even Jose was there, when they wanted to buy Bastoni and all these kind of guys. And so now that we've actually filled the left centre-back area, I'm very happy with that. And so we did need to do that. So in general, the defense needed to be done. And so, and we certainly need two centre backs. And the fact that we've got Udogi and Porro in the fullbacks area, you could say that we've begun to make work on our back line. I think we still need more cover. And again, I probably will touch on this in a moment as far as the overall window score is going to be. But Van de Ven was a good signing. It was a necessary signing. It was a position that we needed in terms of the left centre back area. And I think it's a great signing. 43 million, 22 years of age, rapid speed, good composure on the ball. Good signing. Manor Solomon, free transfer from Shakhtar Donetsk. This one, out of all the signings here, probably surprised me the most because, this one kind of spurred up at the last moment, no pun intended. But I like Manor Solomon though, from what I've seen of him. I've seen a few things of him at Fulham, and I like how he plays. And I've seen him in a couple of appearances that he's made for us, mostly in friendlies, and then he's had a couple of minutes this season. I like that he's positive on the ball. He does try to run at players, whether he goes down the outside or down the inside. And I think this is the kind of creativity we needed on the wide areas, because my personal opinion is that Kulusevski and Son on the flanks, um, especially Son. I'm not a big fan of Son, by the way. You might actually be surprised to learn that. I think he's on the decline at this point, and I thought he was on the decline probably about 2 seasons ago. I think we've seen the best of Son, and so and especially on the wide areas, and so I think Kulusevski might be able to, or Brennan Johnson, who I'm going to come on to in a bit. These guys may be able to play on the left, but Melo Solomon on the right, I like him as competition for Kulusevski. He may actually be better than Kulusevski, just in terms of, I think he's got more to his game. Kulusevski is a bit of a one-trick merchant in terms of he likes to come in on his left side. But I think Manuel Solomon's a good addition to the squad, and for a free signing, you can't complain. And I think he does have qualities and attributes that can be useful for the squad. So I am going to give him a thumbs up at this point as well. Vicario as the goalkeeper. I'm going to reserve judgment on Vicario at this moment in time. I remember I saw a game with him in the pre-season, and my first impressions of him was that I wasn't that impressed with him. But since then, he has done well, and I should give credit where credit's due. And so I'm willing to give him a chance. So I would say it's a positive signing, but my opinion on him is going to be reserved for now. But a positive signing just in terms of we needed a goalkeeper, we needed to replace Lloris, and yeah. So in terms of the club identified an area and they bought a goalkeeper. I'm all for it. Valise, this guy here, I can't give much about this. He's a young 19-year-old centre forward. He's not ready for the Premiership yet. He's certainly one for the future. But £30 million, we need a centre forward in there. You can kind of see now where we're going with this, because we had such an over reliance on Harry Kane for the last probably best part of a decade that we didn't really buy any centre forwards. And when we did buy them, we bought them with the mentality that they are going to be a backup to Harry Kane, and I never ever thought that was a good thing. So at least with this guy here, he's been bought, and obviously you got Dane Scarlett who's gone out on loan. He's been bought with the idea now that he's going to be part of the fabric of the club, and the idea of it is to develop him so he can be a centre forward for Spurs. So yeah, so I can't give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, but he's one of the signings, and let's just wait and see how that one turns out. Kulusevski being a permanent signing, I was overall generally I was impressed with Kulusevski. I do like Kulusevski. His form has dipped in recent months, and so he hasn't really been performing to the heights that he was doing in his first half of his loan spell. But now he's kind of tapered off. But I do like him. He's a young guy. I still think he can get better. And so I'm happy that he's at the club and he does give us good options. Pedro Porro's permanent. I'm not going to say much about that other than, he looks a good signing from last season, obviously. And he was brought in a position that we needed in terms of the right back or the right wing back area. And I think that, you know, I'm not a fan of Emerson Morel, and so buying him was a good choice there. And then lastly, we've got Ashley Phillips. Not lastly, sorry, Ashley Phillips. Don't know much about him at this point, but obviously he's a young kid who's plied his trade at Blackburn, a young centre back. Now, one of the centre backs, I actually thought we might probably buy another centre back in this window. We didn't. So I'm wondering whether if Ashley Phillips gets a chance as one of the four centre backs, we're going to have Romero, we're going to have Van der Ven, probably Davison Sanchez at this point. And I'm just wondering if Ashley Phillips might be the fourth. And if he is, okay, not too bad. Even though I don't want to see Davison Sanchez anywhere near a Spurs shirt at this point. And then Brennan Johnson, the forward that has been not bought to replace Harry Kane, but he's been bought to add more firepower to a front line that obviously is going to be missing the goals that Harry Kane was giving us. Well, do you know what? Yeah, I'll say this. When I first saw Brennan Johnson, I actually first saw him in the Spurs Nottingham Forest game last season. And he was a bit of a live wire. One of the things that stuck out to me there, though, is that I didn't think he had great finishing. I did like his energy. I liked his pace. I liked the fact that he was very busy. And I did like the fact that he could actually float along the front three. So he caught my eye just in terms of his movement, his pace, his energy. But what kind of stuck out to me at that point was his finishing wasn't that great. Now, I haven't seen too much of him since then. And so I'm not sure, but I've seen his stats. He has 8 goals in a struggling Nottingham Forest team, so he's their second highest goal scorer. He had 3 assists, and he was performing well in some other areas around team contribution and stuff. So I'm happy to see him in there. I'm going to be open minded with Brennan Johnson. We need pace, and as I said to you, I'm not a big fan of Son at this point. We need something different. I think Son's very basic in what he does. He's a good finisher, but I don't think he offers a real threat at this point. In terms of, I think he's very predictable about what he's going to do. And I think Brennan Johnson is fresh, he's live, and he's young, and he can be developed. So I'm happy to see him in the squad. Obviously, him on his own is not enough, and that might be the reason why some fans are underwhelmed by this signing. But I'm gonna give him the thumbs up. £47 million at this point, it's chump change to these clubs, really, isn't it? I don't know if that represents good value for money or not. Time will tell. But someone who's 22 and a forward, it's hard to get a forward for good prices these days. And 47 million probably is not too bad, considering that people were buying defensive midfielders for over 100 million. So I don't think that's too bad. I'm just going to go, and then quickly, I'm just going to go over the outgoings, and then I'm going to wrap this up because it's getting a bit long. So Harry Winks, 10 million to Leicester City. Harry Kane, as we all know, went to Bayern Munich for a £100 million deal. Jed Spence on loan to a season loan to Leeds. Joe Rodon again, Leeds loan for a season. Japhet Tanganga went from Augsburg in the Bundesliga for a season loan. And Sergio Reguilon is going to Manchester United on a season's loan. And you know what is not even bizarre, but I've never seen this as long as I've been a football fan, that Tottenham can't sell their players. The best they're having to do is loan these players at the last minute and just take little loan fees from them and get the wages off. But what it highlights is just how poorly Spurs have recruited in the last few seasons, because Spurs have got at least 10, 11 players that need to leave the club, and they can't sell any of them. And actually, they bought them for big money. People like Ndembele, people like Reguilon, they were bought for big money at the time, and they can't even get rid of them. So it just goes to show you that they really ballsed up. And so how do you evaluate this transfer window? What score would you give Spurs based on the fact that did they buy players in the positions that they needed to strengthen? did they, you can comment on whether how did they do their business quick enough to allow themselves to get that business in, and do you think the signings that they made are value for money? Um, and what am I saying here? And then just in terms of the rumors, because obviously things like people like Fatty. So are there players that you would have wished that we signed, that we were linked with, that we didn't sign? Would you have preferred those instead of some of the ones that came, or are you happy with the business? And are you just seeing it? Probably how I'm likely to see it at this point is this is the first window under Angela's management, and so 9 signings represents a lot of business. And how many departures? One, two, three, four, five, six. Six departures of trimming down the squad. So that's not bad for a first window, I think. I mean, we can be critical. Do you know what I mean? It's not a brilliant window, but I think it's okay. And I think, Andrew's going to have some tools to do a good job. But, I'm going to give Spurs a 6.5 out of 10. A 6.5 out of 10. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's bad, but it could have been better. I would have liked to have seen another centre back and another creative midfielder. And you could argue, I mean, the centre forward is another thing, but because they're not necessarily looking for a number 9, I'm okay with that then. But I definitely would have liked to have seen another centre back, and I definitely would have liked to have seen another creative midfielder. If they would have made those 2 signings for me, that probably would have put it up to about an 8. But I'm gonna have to give them a 6.5, and also because they can't get rid of players, man. They're struggling to get rid of their dead wood, and so it's got a bloated squad. So I'm gonna give them a 6.5 out of 10. Um, so yes, so those are my thoughts quickly on the transfer window in our business. I would like to know your thoughts and what you thought of the transfer window in the comments. So please drop it in the comments if you've got anything to say about that, and I look forward to hearing them down below.